All right, welcome to Bridges and Tunnels. We have no public speakers, so let's move right into the agenda. Approval of minutes. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Committee work plan. Are there any changes to the committee work plan?
No changes to the committee work plan.
Okay, move the agenda. Report on operations/safety, April 2012.
Very good. David Moretti will give the report on operations. Page 15.
Right. Thank you. Good afternoon. In April of 2012, we had 23,660,000 crossings, which was an increase of 67,000 crossings over the prior April. Looking at factors that affect travel, we've seen now a similar pattern to March, warmer, drier weather, but unfortunately higher gas prices. Rainfall was only 3.2 inches over 9 days this year versus over 5 inches and 14 days in 2011. Average price per gallon of gas was $4.05, which is 14 cents higher than a year prior. And it's also the first time since May of 2011 that the price exceeded $4. Looking at customer trends, Easy Pass crossings for the month were 19.2 million crossings, which was 2.7% higher than a year ago. Cash crossings were 4.5 million crossings, or down 8.9%. Passenger vehicle travel was up 0.4%, and all other vehicles decreased by 1.4%. For the month, 2 facilities recorded a decrease. Those were the Verrazano and the Henry Hudson, while the remaining facilities experienced increases ranging from 0.1% at the major Bronx crossings to 2.7% at the Rockaways. I'd also like to note that the Cross Bay resident program had a 0.75% increase year to year in the month of April.
April was when the rebate started back?
Was when the announcement came that there was the rebate program.
Verrazano is one of the most predictable crossings. Why do you suppose there's no reduction in crossings for this?
Well, I don't know if I have a definitive answer, but I think part of it could be that what I said earlier was that other type vehicles, which are trucks, are down 1.4% overall, and the Verrazano, which is also a heavy truck facility, has a decrease of 1%. So it could be correlated to that.
You never break it down between trucks and other vehicles?
That usually takes a little bit more time to break it down by facility, but we could certainly do that. It would just be on a little bit of a lag. Through April, there were 90.6 million crossings, which is 2.5 million more than the comparable period a year ago, again, mostly due to January and February when we had milder weather. Finally, for the third straight month, traffic is almost identical to a year ago. May traffic was 25.2 million crossings. And if there are no questions, I will pass the report over to Andy Petrovich to cover safety.
The Port Authority raises its tolls.
Yes.
Does that cause a spike at places like Verrazano?
A spike?
Does that do anything to Verrazano?
It could have an impact on Verrazano. It could also have an impact on Henry Hudson and a few other facilities. It's hard to sometimes break that out, even though you could go back to a certain date. There are just so many variables that come into play when we're trying to analyze traffic, whether it's the weather or the gas prices or the economy, or, as you point out, the increase in a toll at another agency.
What I'm trying to figure out is, should we encourage Pat Foley to raise tolls?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
Well, actually,
Leave that for discussion.
Governor Cuomo announced yesterday that the Port Authority is going to reduce tolls. They're implementing a program. Pat Foy negotiated a resident discount, a commuter discount program that they're going to vote on this Thursday. So they're actually looking to do something for residents as well as for commuters as well as for next stop is trucking. And gasoline has gone down 40%, 40 cents in the last month.
Right. After some reflection, maybe we should leave Pat Foy alone.
Yeah. And with that, we'll move it on to safety.
Good afternoon. On page 28 and 29 are 4 charts and 4 graphs showing the 5-year summary of customer collisions and injury collisions and employee accident reports and lost time injuries through April. Please note that the injury rate per million vehicles has remained steady at historically low rates, and that for the employees, there are 11 less lost time injuries than last year at this time, which dropped a 36% in the frequency rate. And unless there are any questions, that concludes my report. Thank you.
We'll move on to page 31, report on Easy Pass performance. Don Spiro.
Thanks, Jim. The market share for the month was 81.1%, which is 2 percentage points higher than the previous year. So that trend continues. There were more than 22,500 Easy Pass accounts opened in April, including more than 13,600 on-the-go accounts for the month, which is more than 60% of the total in April. In-lane sales of on-the-go tags continues to be a good story for us, a very good story. Up until yesterday, since the program began in June, we've sold more than 62,000 tags in the lanes. So it's really doing well. We've sold over 13,000 at the Throgs Neck since we began, over 11,000 at the Henry Hudson, about 9,500 at the Whitestone. Those are the three biggest sellers. The RFK is also doing very well. There's no questions on the Easy Pass report. I'll move on to the financial report.
That was amazing how well the Easy Tag on-the-go program was implemented and carried out. That's an amazing accomplishment. You guys really deserve intense praise for that.
Thank you. Okay, the financial report begins on page 37. Toll revenue through the first 4 months is up 1.6%, which is a reflection mainly of the favorable weather during January and February. April revenue was actually down slightly against the budget, about 0.7%. And traffic against the budget through April is up a little bit, but down. But for the month of April, it was down about 0.3%. The preliminary May toll revenue is also down slightly. So this is a 3-month trend now, where after very good traffic numbers in January and February, we've seen a slight decline in March, April, and May against the budget. So we're looking at this as we put together our July financial plan, and we'll probably be taking down revenue slightly in 2012 for the July plan, because we're seeing these trends for the last 3 months. We're still finalizing those numbers. On the expense side, total expenses were down through April by 9%. That's primarily due to the timing of non-labor expenses, about $6.5 million, mainly professional service contracts and materials and supplies. We also have lower labor costs because of vacancies, about $2.5 million, and also the lower overtime continues, down about $1 million against the budget in April, 13.8%. So the overtime story continues to be a positive one for us. And our support to mass transit through April was approximately $300 million, which is about 12.7% better than planned, about $34 million. And that concludes the report. If there's no questions.
No questions. We can move on to the capital report.
All right, I won't praise you again for reducing headcount and overtime, but that too is a remarkable accomplishment, both of them.
Thank you, Commissioner. Joe?
Good afternoon. The capital program report can be found starting on page 51 of the book. In May, we made 9 commitments with a value of $16.1 million. That brings our year-to-date commitments to $40.6 million, compared to a planned year-to-date amount of $44.7 million. To date, we have committed 39 tasks compared to a planned 31 tasks year-to-date. The largest commitment made in May was a project for the design of the rehabilitation of the Manhattan approach ramps at the RFK Bridge in the amount of $8.6 million. That's project RK23. Overall, we remain on target to meet our planned goal of $578 million in total commitments this year. There were no completions planned or made in May. Year-to-date completions are at 13.8 million, which matches the plan, and we're still on track to complete 6 projects this year per the plan at 272 million in total completions. There were 4 task closeouts made in May. Year-to-date, we have closed 28 tasks with a total dollar value of 54.6 million. And lastly, some changes to award and completion dates for 2 projects are noted at the bottom of the page. Unless there are any questions, that concludes my report.
Well, I see that the Frog's Neck one is like 3 months late, or it will be 3 months late. Let's put it that way. Was there something we found that we didn't anticipate, or?
Yes, that project is a fender replacement project at the fender system that protects the towers from ship collision, and a lot of the structure is underwater and is covered with marine growth and so forth, so that once we got into the construction, as sometimes happens with these projects,
right,
we uncovered more steel repairs that needed to be done than what had been projected. So that really accounts for the
Okay, thank you.
issue.
And
Just mention that CPAC is doing their presentation.
yes, I was going to. This afternoon, early this afternoon, Joe, myself, his staff will be presenting CPAC presentation about the VN project, the upcoming VN project.
Yeah, which will include an HOV lane on the level it doesn't. An HOV lane on the upper level that doesn't currently exist, which should speed up bus operations as well as providing for high occupancy vehicles.
If you give it to us now, we don't have to go.
Mark, we would enjoy your company at the CPAC. And we'll move on to procurement, page 61. Tony Kessler.
Thanks, Jim. Good afternoon. There are 15 procurements this month totaling about $79.3 million. There is one non-competitive procurement, which is on page 65. It is a modification at no cost to a personal service contract with Catherine S. Klein, Ph.D., to extend the period of performance so that the consultant may continue to provide test validation services in connection with the civil service exam for the occupational title of maintainer. All other procurements are competitive and summarized as follows. Please turn to page 66. Item 2 with Empire Municipal Equipment is a miscellaneous procurement contract for rental of a sewer jet vacuum truck on an as-needed basis in an amount not to exceed $74,572. The staff summary for item 1 on that page with Halmar International is on pages 71 and 72. This is a public work contract to provide design build services for reconstruction of the Manhattan to Queens ramp at the Robert F. Kennedy Bridge in the amount of $50,200,000. Pardon me. The next 3 items are included on pages 73 through 78. They are personal service contracts with Greenman Pedersen, Lero Engineers, and Parsons Brinckerhoff. The work for the first 2 consultants is described on pages 73 through 76. Each firm will perform construction inspection services under projects at the Verrazano Narrows and RFK bridges, respectively. For the procurement that starts on page 77, the consultant will perform design and design support services for installing electronic security systems at the RFK and Bronx Whitestone bridges. The total amount of the 3 contracts is $23.8 million.
The security system at these bridges, are we talking at the foundation? Should somebody try to do something? Are we talking about the roadway level? Are we talking about all over the two suspensions? I mean, where on the bridge are
We're
we
talking primarily around the suspended spans. Suspended spans of the bridge, of the bridges. And, you know, we've had a couple of projects completed already. The first one is at the VN and the QMT, and now we're in the process of working on the Throgs Neck, and this one is now underway. Correct.
But that's not to say, Andrew, there's no electronic security at the tunnels, which there are. Just expanding the current system.
Excuse me. Please turn back to the table of contents, pages 67 and 68 for item 6. This personal service contract is with Jacob Civil Consultants to provide design and construction support services for rehabilitation work at the Marine Parkway Gil Hodges Memorial Bridge. At this time, we are requesting approval for the design portion of the contract totaling $590,035. On page 68, there is a miscellaneous service contract with Trip Consultants USA to provide traffic volume counting services in an amount of $246,645. Next are 3 items on pages 79, 80, and 81. These are modifications to personal service contracts with PB Americas, the joint venture of Parsons Brinkerhoff and Charles H. Sells, and the joint venture of Ammon and Whitney and Gannett Fleming. The work to be performed includes construction support services under each modification. The value of the 3 amendments is $1.5 million. Please turn to page 82. This is a modification to a joint procurement with NYMP Acquisition to perform additional maintenance and repair of fire smoke alarms located at B&T and MTA facilities for a total amount of $130,500 for both agencies. Moving to page 83, we have a modification to a miscellaneous service contract for $85,000 with GenServe to perform additional maintenance and repair of emergency generators located at various facilities. The last 2 procurements are on pages 84 and 85. They are modifications to public work contracts with DJ Electric Installation and Maricap Construction Industries to increase estimated quantities under a utility relocation contract at the RFK Bridge and to perform steel repairs, which we just mentioned, at the Throgs Neck Bridge, respectively. The value of the 2 amendments is $2,713,813. And this month, there are no ratifications. Unless you have any questions, this concludes my report.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And
Thank
that
you.
ends our report.
This is silly, but the Triborough Bridge has been renamed the RFK Bridge. The Gil Hodges is still a hyphenated with Marine Parkway for that bridge? So that one wasn't totally renamed. Why? Do we know why these are half-named and some are fully renamed? Or?
Yeah.
Ask the legislature.
It's in the legend. Okay.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to mention, and Andrew and I spoke about it inside, was in my effort to increase the size of our operations here and grab the other bridges in the region and increase funding for mass transit, as well as creating a toll equity situation for all New Yorkers in the region. I had the opportunity to see Sam Swartz's presentation live, as opposed to, I know the committee circulated it to the toll fare plan. And anyone who hasn't sat down with him, I would strongly recommend they take a look at it, although there were some issues that I had with it. I think it's a very interesting perspective for a plan to make the whole system fairer from a traffic and a fare collection and subsidies for mass transit and road repairs. So I would highly recommend it. If anybody wants to see it and doesn't know how to get a hold of them, I can arrange to do that. Or you can go to the chamber with Andrew on the, what was it, the 11th? July 11th.
You were planning to have the now toll-free bridges have tolls be taken over by this committee, or were you going to give yours back to the city? Which one were you aiming for?
Whichever works.
Gotcha.
That concludes our meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.